Hi, and welcome back to King Poe Myers. I'm Ariadna.
And I'm Dylan.
And we're back with King Poe Myers. I was going to say again, King Poe Myers, sorry, with King Month. Anyways, every single Friday this month, we have a special guest lined up who loves and adores King. Either it's in their what's it called, in their handle, much like us, or simply like they love King and they do a YouTube, like Dave, for example, that we had the first week, and he has a YouTube channel just made for King, basically. And today we have Stephen King Challenge, in other words, Mel herself. Hi, Mel.
Hey.
Thank you so much for being here with us today and having so much patience.
Of course.
We've been going back and forth, but it's all good. Hence my laughter. So before we start, as always, we want to know a little bit more about you. Can you tell us a little bit, please?
Sure. Okay. So my name is Mel. I turned 30 this year. I live in Arizona after living in Ohio for my first 28 years of life. So it's kind of crazy being out here. I've got 3 dogs and 2 cats, and I love to read. That's what I do most of the time. You can find me with a book. I don't watch a lot of TV anymore. It's just been reading.
Oh, that's amazing.
Last year. Yeah.
We love that. That's a big change as well from Ohio to Arizona. Like,
yes,
lifestyle-wise, I'm assuming.
Definitely
it's just
different
a big
out
change.
Here, for sure.
And I love that you have so many fur babies. We do too. Well, we have a kitty named Banks, a black cat named Banks. But we're currently living with the family, and we have 2 dogs as well. So, like, nice. we get it. And he's always had animals as well.
You got to.
Exactly. Love me some animals. So I cannot wait to start talking about your top 5 Stephen Kings. Everyone has their own personal faves, and I love seeing where people come from, what compels them, how there are differences. I can't wait to later on. We're going to talk about your challenge, which is amazing. I'm really loving seeing the King fans being able to select their favorites and seeing the bracket get smaller and smaller.
Yeah, we've almost made it to the final 4. It's been going on for like 2 months. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
It's been a lot of fun, like just seeing where everyone stands with all these books. I remember, we'll talk about it later, I had to message you because I was so shocked by one of the outcomes that I was like,
oh yeah, we're definitely talking about that.
I need to message Mel right now.
We want to know, actually, before we start talking about her top 5 books, is why do you love Stephen King?
Well, the crazy thing is, I didn't start reading Stephen King until I was like 25, so I was a little bit older. But when I was a kid growing up, my parents loved Stephen King. So they read all of his books. They still do. But I remember mostly Misery, the movie Misery with Kathy Bates, of course. I literally grew up on that movie. So, I blame my parents.
Exactly.
Random question, but now I have to ask, what are your parents' favorite Kings?
Oh, that's they both love The Stand. I know that.
Wow.
Yeah. I would say, I think I actually asked my mom this when I was there visiting last weekend, what her favorite King book was, and she did say The Stand. So, okay. I don't know about my dad, though. That's a good question. I'll have to ask him.
Especially if they're longtime lovers, like,
yeah,
of this King itself. I'm assuming that I think also you say it a lot, Dylan mentions it a lot, that it shifts between his moods. So he does have like a favorite King, but sometimes he's like, oh, I like this one a little bit more right now. So
yeah, that's why the top 5 is a little like, for now, that's what it is.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what he does all the time. He's like, this is my top 5 this month or this time of my life.
Exactly.
Come back next year. We'll find out more.
So let's start getting into your top 5. We're going to start with The Outsider.
Okay. I don't think that was in my top 5, was it?
Nope.
I do not think so either. However, no, the things with you in particular was we do so many Kings this month, of course, and we didn't want to overlap, as our audience knows, of course. So each week we have different ones. So that one we don't have in your list. But I think you saw The Outsider something on her feed. That's why we picked it out.
Okay. Have you read The Outsider?
I have, yeah. I'm going chronologically, technically, but I went out of order for The Outsider because I actually started with the Bill Hodges trilogy. So then I was like, well, now I have to read The Outsider. And then If It Bleeds came out, and I was like, okay, I have to read The Outsider, and so I can read If It Bleeds. So yeah, I read it.
Didn't it have a TV show as well?
Yeah, with Jason Bateman.
Exactly.
I actually haven't seen it.
All right. What did you do to The Outsiders? Are you doing something right now?
I'm 3 episodes in, and so far it's pretty loyal to the book.
I heard that the show kind of changes the ending.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I'm kind of nervous about that. But someone we have on this month did tell us that he preferred what they did in the show to the book, which is a very bold statement, and I can't wait to actually see what actually happened.
Yeah. Exactly, and then come back to that statement and be like, okay, now we can debate a little bit more. How many seasons does it have?
Right now, just one, but they actually they've confirmed season 2, and they're doing the story from If It Bleeds.
Oh, okay.
For their season 2?
Yeah.
Well, that's so interesting.
That is interesting.
Right, yeah. Like, one season per book. Does he have another book after that? Or like,
as far as we know, no.
Okay.
If It Bleeds just came out this year.
Yeah. So, that was huge on his list. We got it right when it came out because we really wanted it. But not for book day.
But that was just a short story, though.
If It Bleeds?
If It Bleeds was 4 different short stories.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
And The Outsider 2 was one of them.
Oh.
Which was named If It Bleeds.
Such a good story. I'm really compelled with it, and I want him to do more with it. All right. The Wastelands.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Okay. I gotta say, I think that was a wild ride. That was such a good book.
You leave Dylan astonished every single time.
It's just and I'm happy so many people are liking it because the more we're talking to more and more people, a lot of people are saying what you're saying, and it couldn't grab me. It wasn't until like the last part when we met Blaine, I felt like it actually picked up. But
you're right, but that's why I think that book is so good because it just goes like this, like up, like it just goes up and up and up and up, and then it ends right at the top. That's how it ends. And I haven't read the next one yet, so.
What is the next one?
Wizard and Glass.
Oh, you love Wizard and Glass.
Yep. So I've just been stuck at that cliffhanger ending.
That massive cliffhanger.
Right, the literal cliffhanger. Yes.
When did you read The Wastelands?
I finished it at the very end of August. So almost 2 months ago.
Okay.
But since I'm going chronologically, I haven't made it to Wizard and Glass yet.
That makes sense.
You have the patience of a god because I finished book 3 and then I came right home. I had book 4 ready because that cliffhanger was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good one.
What do you think happens?
What do I think happens? Oh my gosh. I mean, here's the thing. You got to assume Roland makes it to the end of the series, right? You just got to assume that. I don't know because it's not like our world. So literally anything could happen. I don't know.
I actually think the payoff is, I think you'll enjoy it.
Okay.
But please message me when you get to Wizards and Glass because I love Wizard and Glass so much.
Oh, really? You like it better than The Wastelands?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But for me, I've only read the first 4. The next 2 months, I plan to finish Dark Tower.
Okay.
So that's 3 massive books, but I'm excited. Nothing for me beats Drawing of the 2. Drawing of the 3.
Drawing of the 3.
I loved that one too, but when I read The Wastelands, I was like, forget Drawing of the 3. I liked it so much better.
I'm rereading Wastelands. I feel like maybe I was just in a bad mood when I was reading it because everyone's saying how good it is.
Literally everyone that he knows, and like even in our line world, because that's how we figure it out, you know, because he reviews books every Sunday, and they're mainly King books as well. You can see behind us, obviously, and every single time there's like Wastelands, like you gotta go read Wastelands. And he's like, oh gosh, I think it depends on the mood. Yeah. I really think it depends on the mood.
So when you were in it was during the Stephen King challenge, and it was, you know, your bracket was getting smaller, and it came down to the Wastelands and Thinner, and Wastelands blew Thinner out of the water, and I nearly fell over. I could not believe it.
I gotta say, I think Thinner, out of all the ones I've read so far, might be my second to least favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, now I have to ask, what's your least favorite?
Roadwork.
Roadwork?
Yeah.
You didn't read Roadwork.
I have not read Roadwork yet.
That's not so familiar.
Books. I mean, I gotta say, I'm not like a huge fan of Bachman.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I did not like Thinner. I didn't like any of the characters.
Do you find that most people like Bachman books or don't like them within the challenge, and people who DM you because, you know?
I would say it just depends on which one. Like, people go hard for the Long Walk. They go hard.
Long Walk.
Yeah.
Running Man.
Yeah, the Running Man's kind of controversial, but I liked it.
Because I know you like the Bachman books.
I love Bachman.
Yeah, they're just different. I think the Dark Half is like a really good example of like, because the way King writes it is kind of like I don't know how to explain it, because he's writing as King, but it's really about Bachman, because it's kind of, that's what the story is about. So have you read The Dark Half?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's like a Bachman book written by Stephen King, if that makes sense.
It does. I know what you're saying. Yeah, I think The Dark Half, he really does, like you said, it is Bachman, but it's also King. And I absolutely love The Dark Half. For me, it's just one of those stories that I don't think it gets enough praise, because no one, besides King fans, like horror fans, really don't know The Dark Half.
That's true.
And it's really upsetting, because I think it's such an outstanding concept, such an outstanding story.
That is why it was a very first giveaway on purpose, because he spoke and he loves it so much that we really wanted to like spread the word with that as well. So our giveaway winner, Book Through My Eyes, he loves King, but she hasn't read that one as well. She got really excited, of course, because he just wanted to spread the word, basically. Like, go read Dark Half. It's so important.
Underrated.
Underrated. Yeah.
Very.
Are you gonna keep talking about Thinner?
No. I think it's really just agree to disagree. I respect where you're coming from, but for me, Thinner, it's one of those books that I read in like less than half a day.
It's a pretty
I flew right
book.
through it.
Yeah, that's what I love about King, and like the community too, is like the different takes on the books. It's so interesting, because you can have a book that you really didn't like that someone else loved. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Completely agree. I mean, I'm an avid reader as well for different authors and different genres in my particular case. But when I found you guys with the King community, and just like, I love talking to you all, even though I can't really say much because I really don't read them, of course. But this interaction for me is everything, because I'm like, that's what a really good writer does.
Right. Exactly.
And that's freaking amazing. I love it so much.
Exactly.
Is there anything you liked about Thinner? A character, a moment.
It was a unique concept. I liked the story, I guess I could say. Some of the graphic details were disturbing, and I really liked that.
Yep. Yeah, that's Bachman.
All right.
Yeah.
Before we dive into your top favorite, we will mention your top 5, of course, because we talked about these in previous episodes, so we don't want to like repeat ourselves. But we would love, like, as like our opinion, but we would love to hear your opinion on these. So in 5th place, you did write It. So what do you love about It? Even though
it's epic.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, what can you not? I mean, there's one thing you cannot love, but the rest is great.
Did you watch the movies? Did you like the movies?
The original It series I watched as a kid, of course, with Tim Curry. Great. And then the most recent one was good too. I don't know. The book's way better. So.
Oh yeah. I feel like if they wanted to do it actual justice, it would have to be a miniseries. Or like 2 or 3 seasons on Netflix. Like
I would be interested to see, because I actually had no idea that the book goes back and forth the way it does. How like they're young and then old and young. I thought it was set up like the movies, where like the first movie they're young and the second one they're old. So I thought the book was split like that, but it's not. It was very interesting.
I like the idea of going back and forth, though, I think, with this one.
I mean, when I did see the first new It, that's something that really threw me off. I mean, the acting was great, good moments, but I was so used to that back and forth that when they were just kids, it kind of annoyed me. I'm like, no, that's the whole point, is to go back and forth.
Right.
In 4th place, you wrote Different Seasons. Tell us more, please.
Yep. Okay. Perfect book of short stories, or I guess they're novellas. All of them, in my opinion, are 5-star reads.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I know perfectly it's one of his favorites. I don't know if you've reread it. You read?
I'm gonna reread The Breathing Method this Christmas because I love that club.
Yes.
I want him to expand on that. I want a book about just that club, because that
would be awesome. Because it just like leaves you asking so many questions. Yeah.
Is that your favorite story or your favorite novella from Different Seasons, or do you have a different one?
No, it's got to be Rita Hayworth. Rita Hayworth in the Shawshank Redemption, for sure.
It's like these 4 stories. Like what else can you say? They're just outstanding stories.
Yeah.
And what was my question with these? Oh yeah, this one in particular. When you were choosing your top 5, at least for right now where you are in this moment, because they could change, of course.
Right.
How did you put in Different Seasons? Because those are 4 novellas.
Well, it's a collection of books. So, I mean, it counts as one book because it just comes as one, right? So, I don't know. I think
as one book.
It's hard to like have several different stories in the same book and have them all be solid. Like, so that's why I'm like, okay, that has to be up there.
There you go. Okay. Because that's another thing that we also see different people like debating. We're like, oh no, novellas, like that should be like the short stories novellas should be like a different list. Whereas with you, or both of you in this particular case, you both adore Different Seasons.
Well, I adore Different Seasons, but it can't be in my top list because just the way that my mind works, I can't have 4 stories against, like, it.
That makes sense.
It doesn't register for me. So I have actually gone through 4 Past Midnight and Different Seasons, and I've ranked them that way. And the more novellas I read, I'm gonna, edit my list.
That definitely makes sense, especially since they have the, the single novella now. You don't have to buy the whole book. But for me, I have to put it up there.
Exactly, because
it's worthy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's very, very worthy.
Number 3, The Shining.
Yep, amazing.
Tell us more.
I would say probably out of all of his that I've read, which is kind of crazy, that one scares me the most because mental illness is real. People
preach. Yep.
Yes, go through that stuff for real, and it's so interesting that Jack Torrance was already a little bit he was just more susceptible to the hotel, and so it took him over, and I think that is an amazing concept. And you really, really take the ride with him and see him just go a little bit more crazy, with
one of our guests this month. I can't remember who, but it's coming up next. I feel like it was Tony who's coming up next week. I was thinking, you guys did talk a little bit more about The Shining, I think it was, and it kind of changed my mind to go read that one, because I don't know, we always go back and forth, like he's like, oh, read this one and read that one, and I'm not really big into horror, but the way he explained that and the way that you raised your voice again saying or raise awareness, I guess, about mental illness. And for me, I'm a huge advocate for that. Like, it does exist and it's real. We all go through it in different kind of ways and shades. This is the second time or the third time I hear something so, I was something so great about The Shining. I know everybody loves The Shining, but in this particular, aspect of it, it's the first times that I'm hearing it again and again, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting for me and my background.
I think if you were to pick up a Stephen King book to read, I would say The Shining is definitely a good one.
Okay.
Because I don't think it's too scary. Like,
even this is the one that scared you the most.
Specific scenes. I'm not going to spoil anything.
Okay. Did you watch the movie?
Yeah. And I know a lot of people get really passionate about the Shining movie versus the book. And they refuse to separate the two. They hate the movie. But I just separate it. The movie's just different. It's just a whole different story. It's a good movie in itself. I just don't even think about the book.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. And almost done here. And second place, we have Needful Things.
Yes.
Which Dylan adores.
I think it's so underrated.
Absolutely.
It has the best King villain that I've read so far.
I love Leland Gaunt, but that's
a nice debate right there.
I love Leland Gaunt, and I defend Leland Gaunt.
Yeah, he's my favorite villain, but you like Randall Flagg, is that what you were going to say? I think we have to get farther in the Dark Tower series to appreciate Randall Flagg. I think that's what...
Actually, I started reading The Stand in February, and I stopped reading it because COVID hit, and it was just too much.
It was too real.
It was too much. So November, December is actually me finishing The Stand and then doing the last 3 Dark Towers. So Randall Flagg is going to consume my life very, very soon. I don't know enough about him. I know he is right up there with Pennywise. But yeah, for me, top villain, it's hard to go against Pennywise, but Annie Wilkes is...
Yeah, she's a really good one.
No superpowers, but that woman.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
All right. So now we definitely made it to your top one, and that's the one that we're talking about the most right now, which gave you the most chills, gave Dylan the most chills. Salem's Lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Salem's Lot.
My favorite as well.
That one I don't think that one will ever change. I think it'll be my number one forever, just because I love vampires anyway. So, yeah.
I mean, it just, when I read it, and it's like when I was talking about Thinner, I'm a very, very slow reader. I read that book in like 3 days. Mm-hmm. I could not put it down. When it comes to, I grew up in a small town, so a lot of King stuff does resonate with me. Being in this lot, watching, the vampire slowly start to take over. Mm-hmm. I think at one point the sheriff just says,
"Bye,
I'm out."
Yeah.
No, but we need you. I'm going to Boston. I cannot deal with this. I mean, it's perfect for me. It is a perfect book for me.
Do you have that small town feel as well, being from Ohio?
I mean, not that small. I think my town I grew up in was about 30,000. So
so it's not that small.
Yeah,
exactly.
Small. So. Yeah, I think actually Salem's Lot and Needful Things are kind of comparable. Maybe that's why they're my top 2. Mm-hmm. Because it's like the building of a town and then the town falling, and it's just so good. And I know a lot of people don't like getting to know characters, and they think it's like, oh, why is this character important to the story? Like, why do I care? But I love that. And I know a lot of people think Salem's Lot moves too slow because of that, but I think it makes it great.
It makes it real. It makes it feel like you're actually there.
Yeah.
I felt things for these characters in both Salem's Lot and Needful Things. Mm-hmm. I mean, the book just leaves me speechless. I'm thinking about rereading it.
Yeah. I really need to, but it's like when you've got so much to read, who's got time to reread things?
I know we've met many people who have reread things, of course, but I feel like they've been into Stephen King longer from what we've seen. Also, like in the interviews from like Dave and like Tony in this particular case as well. Whereas you two are similar because you didn't start reading King till a little bit ago, much like Mel,
just a couple years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think, and I'm on book number 42 out of like 80, so I still have a ways to go. But yeah, I would love to reread Salem's Lot. I have read it twice in my life, but just once recently. So,
is that a book that you would choose like a specific month to read because it's like an eerie? Because he's very much into moods, as in like the super scary ones or scary movies or whatever, like around the fall season, for example. Or is that something that you would read?
I mean, I do think it does take place in fall because he has this amazing quote about the fall season.
I think it's September, maybe it takes place in. I can't remember, but I think it's one that definitely reading near Halloween is good.
I think I just might. Have you read the two short stories that accompany Salem's Lot? I can't think of their names right now. I'm sorry.
Well, Jerusalem's Lot.
Jerusalem's Lot.
And then the other one in Night Shift called
as she reaches for her book. In every single episode, we have someone reach behind them. Like, let me get the book that's behind me. Hold on a second.
Yeah. Okay. It is. I know it's like One for the Road. Found it right away. Yeah, which they're both great. Jerusalem's Lot is written like Dracula, because it's all just diary entries. It's really good.
I mean, I didn't think I could love the story anymore. Then I got those two short stories that just brought me back. And yeah, Salem's Lot for me is untouchable.
Where can you find Jerusalem's Lot?
Jerusalem's Lot.
They're both in Night Shift.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're
Night
both
Shift a while ago.
Yeah, a couple months ago.
Yeah, that was your first review, your book review. I remember that. And you really enjoyed it. I didn't know it was short, or at least I forgot that it was short stories as well. You said you were in book 42 out of 80. He has 80 books.
81, but I included like all his nonfictions, and then like he has one that's just like an essay. I don't know. So any little thing he wrote is included in that.
Okay.
Because that was our next question, like your handle, essentially, and what you're doing, which is Stephen King Challenge. Like, tell us all about it. Why you started, what got you into it, apart from your parents, of course. But
man, I think one day I was just like, I kind of want to read all of Stephen King's books, and I want to have accountability to do it. So how am I going to do that? I'm just going to make an Instagram. I didn't even know that Bookstagram was a thing. I just kind of made an account, named it Stephen King Challenge because it was
available.
That's what I was doing.
You were doing as well.
And yeah, like I said, the first one I picked up was Mr. Mercedes. Just randomly went to the bookstore and I was like, I'm going to go with that one. Which, well, actually, what really happened was I went to the bookstore and grabbed End of Watch, read about 70 pages, and I was like, should I know this stuff? And so I get online and I start looking and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the third book in a trilogy. I am such an idiot. Because I had no idea Stephen King had, other than The Dark Tower and then and Dr. Sleep as a sequel, that's all I knew that had connections to other books. I didn't even know Bill Hodges' trilogy existed. I had no idea. So then I had to go back to the bookstore and get the first two books. But yeah.
Something
and
similar
then after that, I just what?
Oh, I was gonna say something similar happened to me. I read The Outsider, and they kept referencing all these events. I'm like, what the hell? Like, who's this guy that died? That seems kind of important. Look it up. Like, oh, there's a whole trilogy that I missed.
Yes, that's and that is the thing to be thankful about Bookstagram too. Is The Outsider, a lot of people don't realize is connected, and it has major spoilers. Yeah, so I always warn someone when they're like, I'm going to start reading The Outsider. I'm like, wait, don't start that one yet.
That's another reason why we wanted to do this thing as well in this month, because we also kind of started, you know, loving horror as always, but we started our King Poe Myers with a little bit of this, a little bit of that, including King because he adores King, obviously so. And then through that, we found Bookstagram, we found people like you and all our guests this month, and we feel like we're going to have, like, early next year another month like this because we just adore, you know, exactly. And like, not only what you were saying, of course, like interchanging opinions and like, oh my God, I love Thinner. Oh my God, I love Wastelands, for example, your personal debate, but also like knowing those kind of spoilers. Like maybe they're listening and they're like, oh my God, that's a good thing I didn't start The Outsiders because I have to read before, you know, and things like that.
Yeah, and then the whole the Dark Tower series is like, well, make sure you read The Stand also, and then also Insomnia is part of it, and it's like, no one tells you that. So.
That's true. That's what I figured out as well.
Yeah, I randomly picked up Insomnia because I just wanted to read it, and then there's no spoilers, but you know,
there are obvious connections.
You see a dark tower and a field of roses. I'm like,
oh.
Yeah, I just
connects everything, doesn't he?
Insomnia is my book. Like I just started it. So.
Oh, you
I'm
just started
100 pages in. Yeah, that's like, I'm in like the year 1994 now with my chronological. So.
Insomnia for me is right up there with The Dark Half as just an underappreciated gem. I absolutely loved Insomnia. I don't get the hate. I don't get why it is not loved more. That book just...
We'll see.
Come back to us, basically. And we will see from there. It's funny that you mentioned Mr. Mercedes, because I know you had a question, didn't you?
I haven't read them yet. Probably next year. Do you recommend them?
Oh yeah. They're like a good King kind of takes on crime, you know, like, because it's kind of like The Outsider, you know, because it's like a crime novel, but you know it's King, so it can't just be a normal crime series. But yeah, you'll definitely find a love for Bill Hodges, and yeah, it's definitely, I think the first Mr. Mercedes, the first book, there's a part in it where my jaw dropped. Like it's a good one.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think it's going to move high on your list for next year.
Yeah, that's probably going to be my January read after I finish Dark Tower.
You definitely have to finish Dark Tower. I definitely agree. Dark Tower. Even I want to know what happens, even I'm not going to read these. Going back to your brackets, because you guys mentioned it here and there, you're doing the Stephen King Challenge, of course, but also you're doing the polls every other day, every week, I'm not really sure. Every day.
Every day. I've been doing one a day. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there anything that surprised you? Is it different than your list?
Well, I can't say I'm really surprised by any of it. I think what's made it to the top, I pretty much expected. I know a lot of people were upset because The Stand and It went against each other so early, and The Stand lost hard. It lost hard. It wasn't even a close one. It got killed. And I know a lot of people were surprised by that. And actually I was too. I thought it would be a closer race. But I mean, I love it, but I really don't want it to win.
Is Salem's Lot up there?
It just lost yesterday.
Oh.
The Shining.
Okay.
Yeah, the past couple of days I've been following really closely, and yeah, all my faves are losing. I mean, Needful Things got blown out.
Oh, blown out. Oh, it was so rough.
That hurt me. 177 to 33.
Yeah, that is rough.
He literally took snapshots for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shining. The Shining beating Salem's Lot, I get it. I get the love for The Shining. I really enjoyed it, but it's not Salem's Lot.
Right, exactly. Exactly, I agree.
So, I have an interesting question, I think, for both of you, because it is both of your favorites, and that's why it was so special to, like, have you on and, like, okay, we're talking Salem's Lot, yes or yes. for a fan of King, when do you think they should read this book? Like we said, of course, September, like during Halloween, but like in general, like early on, like one of the first few
I mean,
Kings, or is it
it's his
something like a
second.
staple?
It's his second novel, so I mean,
Okay.
I think it's a good place to start. I mean, like I said, The Shining is a good one to start with, but Salem's Lot is really, you get a feel for how King writes. So I think
Okay.
that's a good place to pick
I
up.
love that answer.
Because it's very, like I said, he explains who the townspeople are and goes into detail with all that, and then you'll realize, okay, well, King just likes to go into detail.
I love that.
For
I love
every
hearing
little
something like
person
that.
and thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He just makes you feel like you're there, and that's why I love his style so much. Not many writers can actually transport me to Derry or Salem's Lot or wherever. Like I feel like I'm there.
The little towns he creates are amazing. It's my favorite part. Castle Rock, Derry, you know.
Yeah, he talks about Castle Rock a lot.
Oh, I love that. Like, if there were a fictional place I could go, it'd be Castle Rock, man. Forget Derry, forget Salem's Lot. I want to go to Castle Rock.
I wouldn't want to go to Derry.
Not even in real life? Well, we're going. I want to go.
Not Derry. Derry is just...
But as far as fictional, that's a really good question, actually. Well, you already answered. If there was any fictional place that he created, where would you go? You said,
Castle Rock.
Thank you very much, Castle Rock. Where would you go?
I mean, if you want to be a vampire, go to Salem's Lot. But Castle Rock has just so much history. Like to go to the bandstand and go out where I forget what road it's called, where Cujo took place. Like,
right, I can't. It was some route.
Yeah,
70.
some random. Just a number.
I don't know what it was. I can't remember. Yeah.
And he's and you know, Beautiful Things was originally supposed to be the last Castle Rock story, and of course that didn't happen, and he keeps going back. Castle Rock just has a lot of really rich history, and I would love to go to Castle Rock.
Yeah, same.
That's pretty cool. Another book that we wanted to mention, wrapping up a little bit, would be what you reviewed last month for Spooktober.
Oh, Nightmares and Dreamscapes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just finished that. I read that this month, a couple weeks ago.
What do you think of it?
It was okay. There were some. I think most of the stories were a lot of fun. None of them really stood out to me. You know, like I feel like Night Shift has a lot of standout stories. Skeleton Crew, standout stories. I mean, you've got The Mist. But for Nightmares and Dreamscapes, I was like, oh, well, some of these were fun, but I'm not going to remember any of them. Not really.
Yeah, for me, it is hard to compare because, like I've said many times, Skeleton Crew and Night Shift are perfect, in my opinion. Like, they are just, every single one of those stories is a classic. The worst grade I can give one of those books, short stories, is a 9 out of 10. Like, everything, everything just hits.
I didn't love Skeleton Crew. I think it went up and down. Like, there are some really good ones in Skeleton Crew, but there are some real bad ones in Skeleton Crew too.
Interesting.
But Night Shift is solid. All of them are good.
Interesting. Yeah, I read Skeleton Crew first, and then I did Night Shift, and I eventually just gave them a tie. But I don't know, Skeleton Crew with like the long jaunt, and
the jaunt, and the raft. Those are, like I said, when they're good, they're good. But when they're bad, they're bad.
And I will agree, Nightmares and Dreamscapes did have a lot of duds, more than I'm accustomed to. I was kind of surprised, but there were some that I did view as highly as anything on Night Shift, or like I did love. They Got a Hell of a Band.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I like The Rainy Season.
Yeah. See, like, they're fun. I think those are fun stories. I just didn't like the book as a whole as much. That's all.
Have you read any of his other short stories?
I think that's it so far. Because I think, I can't remember which one's next, like, chronologically. But I think those three that's all I've done.
Okay. Yeah, same. I still have to do, Just After Sunset, but that's, I think, 2008. But there's one in the 90s that he did do. I just cannot think of the name of it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think as well. But, well, she's in 94 currently, so
Yeah.
this could be late 90s, basically.
I can't think of it.
I know. Yeah, so you're currently in 94. That's what I was saying. So, so this could be late 90s.
Is what you were thinking of.
Which one?
Everything's Eventual.
Thank you.
All right, then. So by now, because we talked a little bit about that. Actually, before we do a little mini lightning round, which is going to be questions for both of you, my question for you, because we already know Dylan's answer, is what was your first King book?
I always thought it was Carrie. When someone asked me that, I always said Carrie. But now that I'm really thinking about it, and like I said, I didn't start reading King until I was like 25. I think my first one was 11/22/63.
And what did you think about it? Do you remember it?
I remember telling everyone it was my favorite book of all time.
That's so cute.
Nice.
Yeah, like, geez, and that wasn't even that long ago. But I swear, I did tell everyone it was amazing. But I got to reread it because I don't remember it.
Because you haven't read it.
No, but that's high up there.
Oh, really?
That's one of his. That's one of his big ones.
I did not.
And that's not a horror book at all. So that's something you could get into.
Yay! Thank you for that. So you have no clue what it means. I mean, what it's about.
Well,
it's just a guy goes back in time to try to save Kennedy.
Huh. Okay. 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 Yep. That sounds something familiar from one of the shows I've been watching. What's it called again?
11/22/63.
That makes sense. Okay, cool. Thank you for that. All right, so lightning round. For both of you, of course. Which book is the most underrated for you?
Needful Things. It's got to be.
Insomnia.
Not The Dark Half?
Well, it depends on the day, but okay. Right now it's Insomnia.
Okay. Which book had the greatest emotional impact on you?
Pet Sematary, easy.
Yeah,
You're not the only one.
Yeah.
We've been interviewing people and they're like, Pet Cemetery.
Yeah.
You too. You too. You too.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that wasn't even a question after all. Like, no, I know. That one, that gets emotional for you all. Yeah. And grief. That's a lot of grief from all I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which book would you recommend to someone who has never read a King book before?
I'll try to say one I haven't said yet.
Yeah. You did mention two, which I'm really grateful for, which was Shining and 11/22/63. Mm-hmm. Any of his, look, let's put it this way: any of his novellas / short stories.
See, I don't know about that because I feel like those have so many connections to other books that I don't really want to say a short story collection.
That's interesting. So I wouldn't know that, but for example, so thank you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I guess, man, that's a tough question.
You did say two, though. You have said two throughout the episode, so well, you already answered this one.
Try to think of something different. Hold on, let me look.
Well, you look. Do you have a different one, Dylan?
I mean, if someone want to get into King, one of my end goals with them to be to read Needful Things. And while you can read Needful Things just without knowing anything about King, you can, and you can love and enjoy the story. Mm-hmm. I would suggest reading The Dark Half because The Dark Half really does set up a lot. There's The Dark Half, The Dead Zone, Cujo.
I think if you wanted to just pick up a random book and read it, Misery is a good one because it's not really.
Oh, yeah.
We've got
Misery is the best.
So, Misery, you were saying.
No, I was just saying it's a good standalone book. You don't have to have read any other King. You don't have to read King after if you hate it. It's which you won't hate it.
Can't hate that book. love Misery.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be mean. The book or the movie?
I'm gonna pick the book. I always pick the book. The book is better. It's got so much more gore, and it's graphic. It's disgusting. The movie, amazing. Of course, Kathy Bates is Annie Wilkes.
Yeah.
She is. You can't read Misery and not picture her. You just can't. So, I mean, they're both good, but the book is better.
Agreed. But I do think that is one of the best adaptations.
Yes, if not the best. That, Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank's amazing.
Yeah. So they're the most legit to the book.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not The Shining. It's like a freaking movie. All right. Can you describe Halloween in 3 words?
Jeez. I'll just go with what's off the top of my head. Witches, pumpkins, and candy.
Perfect. Favorite Halloween candy?
Dots.
Oh my god, I don't think I've heard that answer ever before.
I love dots.
I love that. I have to I don't even, wait, is that chocolate, right?
No.
Oh, they're
No,
not.
it's like little gumdrops.
Oh, sorry, I like gumdrops. That was my all for.
Dots are good. I haven't had dots in a long time.
I was thinking about something else, probably something like Spanish wise, but that's cool. I'll look what dots are. Someone reminded me Jolly Ranchers existed. And I'm like, oh, that's
Quality.
right. Stuff, that's what happens. All right. And then for last and definitely not least in our behalf, where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram, Stephen King _challenge. That's it.
That's where you are. We'll definitely tag you, of course, and mention you and reshare and all these sorts of things. So you'll definitely be linked down below as always. But yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much for the patience, for the random noises and Zoom calls basically.
Yes, of course.
It's like what we always say, it's 2020. We got you. We understand.
We gotta work through it. Yeah.
Exactly. At this point, all right. But we're so excited to just to have you and share, your challenge, which I think is very interesting, and hopefully, you get more followers with us because it's like, oh, Stephen King challenge. Let's find this out,
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Cannot wait to see who is deemed number 1. I'm sure.
Do we have predictions?
We're
We're basically down to The Shining. It 11/22/63. I'm sure is gonna win.
King fans stand by The Shining, and I don't see The Shining losing.
Would you want The Shining? Mel, would you want The Shining or?
Yeah, I think of what's left, I would pick The Shining.
Okay, but you still think it's it? You think it's gonna win? Better said.
Yes.
I mean,
I will definitely vote for it over The Shining, but I think The Shining is gonna take it all.
We'll see.
We hope so, I guess. No, but you chose it though.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you do like it before The Shining. Yeah, that's also true. So, okay.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for dealing with all of the technical issues, but we made it through. Thank you for sharing all of your opinions and just being a fellow King fan. Mm-hmm. It is because of you and everyone else on Bookstagram that I am going to reread The Wastelands at some point in my life.
Yay!
I feel like maybe I was just in a bad mood and just couldn't get into it, but I'm going to reread it. But Thinner still in my top 5. I adore that book. But I love having different opinions. I love being able to talk about them.
Yep.
It's what makes a great fan base, and I think King has a hell of a fan base.
Very, very loyal.
And very respectful.
Yes, that's true. I like that a lot. Very respectful, that even though you have different opinions, like, okay, I see where you're getting from or coming from, but I like that. I really do. I enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So please follow Mel on Instagram, Stephen King Challenge. Vote for it. Stay tuned for more book reviews. I do them every single Sunday. I have no idea what I'm doing this week, but
but here we are. Just stay tuned on our IGTV and YouTube. And stay tuned for more episodes, more King episodes this month. We still got 2 more to go. So, yeah, definitely. See y'all next week. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.